Chairman GDC Walter Nyambati, the other chairman, and representations of the other state corporation presence, the development partners who have been able to join us today. Is Oshan in the house or representation? The CEO alluded, the staff of GDC, management, good. Is it still good morning, good afternoon? God is good. It's nice to be here this morning to join in this great journey that you have mapped with Kenya School of Government. I've perused very quickly, including spending some time with the CEO over the development time of this strategic plan. And it does indeed capture the aspirations on where you want to go to. It is said, if you don't have a roadmap, you really may never get to where you are going. You need to know your beacons when you want to be where you want to be when, and eventually how you get to your destination. And more importantly, you won't get lost in this field where there can be so many disturbances. I've seen the strategic plan considering the various aspects of the development, and I think it has been well done, looking at the various aspects that you did consider, situational analysis, external, macro environment, looking at both the political, the economic, technological, ecological, to address issues of green growth, the legal environment, the macro issues from the labor, the industry, the capacity that we have today, and even the access to the funding. And let me also acknowledge the development partners in the House for the support they have given us. I do passionately know the support we've received to be where we are today as a country. So thank you, KFW, thank you, AFD, thank you, World Bank, thank you for the partnership from all the development partners. Let me not attempt to mention all of them because I think we get support from every development partner, European Investment Bank, Iceland, New Zealand, as was acknowledged by the CEO. But thank you, Chairman, very much for the good leadership in geothermal field. It's an area where we boldly, as a country, undertook, and I want to acknowledge those who came before us for the good structure in the energy sector in Kenya today. Whereas you'll go to many countries and the energy sector is not yet unbundled. It is still working as one energy sector, including sometimes even petroleum. Here in Kenya, we have the generators, IPPs, and of course KenGen. We have the transmission company, and we have the offtake, KPLC. Thank you, Chair, for the great work you are doing at KPLC. And whereas we are that unbundled as a country, we've gone further today under the new Energy Act to look at how to even introduce competition to Kenya Power. As a single buyer today, we will be opening up that market. I think the regulations are ready. We are working very closely to ensure that we do finish the unbundling by ensuring that KETRACO is having the transmission network so that Kenya Power can focus on the competitive front once we have open access when the new regulations come in. But we are conscious of the need to support each other, and like the going together we can, we'll ensure that we walk the journey together to ensure that we deliver on this very sensitive economic driver, the energy that we need to drive this country. So even as an unbundled country, we acknowledge that those who came before us saw the need to have a geothermal development company to de-risk our fields and ensure that we are able to leverage the generation of energy for this country on this important resource that we have. And so as other countries develop their mines and their petroleum industry, we develop our geothermal industry, which could not be quite de-risked by KenGen or Ketraco or the off-taker. And so GDC are doing a great job, and I want to congratulate you on behalf of our government. I congratulate you for the good work you are doing. To be able to develop 30%, slightly over 30% today on the power on the grid through the steam that you develop is a great success. And so we'll walk the journey together even as we face the new frontier on how are we going to develop our country and accelerate the development. You know, when you have to accelerate development and the resources are the same, you have to look for new ways of doing things. I want to also acknowledge Nupea, who sits outside the unbundled market to basically focus with a board, with a management, with a budget to focus on the nuclear front so that we can be in the states of the countries who basically exploit some of these new energy sources. And so Ezra, thank you for being here, and thank you for the good work you are doing with Wabuyoba. I've seen Wabuyoba here, Sante Wabuyoba, for the good work you are doing in Nupea. Thank you, Rosemary, and our regards to KenGen when you go back. I think KenGen equally is doing a good job. I have some written notes, but let me try and do a bit and basically summarize those ones that have been written for me. I think GDC, like I said, is doing a good job. And like I've encouraged Chairman and Paul Ngugi always to really open up those fields. I was going to start my remarks by pointing to what I've always discussed with both Chair and GDC by pointing us to what was captured or what's captured in one page 30 of the plan. I'm just trying to go there very quickly. I don't know how it was captured by my Mbugwa here. Mbugwa, you have the whole document. I don't know how to get to page 30 very quickly. And page 30 does really, the government in office today does recognize energy as a key economic driver. And what does it say? It recognizes electricity as a vital economic and social service critical to production, essential services such as health and security and quality of life of citizens. While generation capacity has increased considerably, there is need to do much more. But in the commitment that the better plan did capture, it did say it was going to turn around Kenya Power by delinking government development initiatives and thus leaving Kenya Power to operate on commercial principles. I decided to read this to people like Paul Ngugi in case they have not read our manifesto or the manifesto of the government in office. It did say that. It did say we will develop a policy, regulatory, and financing framework for off-grid, community-owned development projects, and so on and so forth. And so as we talk, Masinde, the chair for Kenya Power, to those off-grid developers, they will very shortly, on the open market, transport their power to load centers and be a competitor. What did it say on GDC? It said we'll accelerate geothermal resource development. However brief it is, it does say so, that we will develop and accelerate geothermal development because, like I said, we recognize geothermal to be a very good form of energy. We know how to develop it today. We have de-risked our fields, like has been said, from 4. We are doing almost the 5th one today. We know how to develop as a country geothermal at a very competitive pricing. When EPRA, I think 2-3 days ago, published the latest indicative geothermal tariffs at about 5.9, I think as a country today, we can boast of being able to dispatch geothermal at about 6.5 cents US. And therefore, we need to work to ensure that we do achieve what EPRA has published. And you know, EPRA doesn't just publish, they look at all the economic issues. The return on equity of 12.5%, if I saw the template that they employed, the cost of capital at about 8%, a US dollar return on cash. They look at availability. Geothermal availability is about, 80%, but you can push it close to 100% because it's not one of those intermittent power. And look at everything else and come with a cost of about 5.9. If you look at GDC today and the fact that if you look at some of those economies like who talk about cost of entry, the competitive advantage of GDC today with 7 rigs, which are possibly amortized, the fact that we have de-risked most of our fields, we should be able to really bring down the cost of geothermal development. I was looking at the latest template done by Kenji and Rosemary, and when you structure or you segment when you do the cost allocation of steam development, steam gathering system, and the cost of conversion, the 86 megawatts Olkaria, is that Olkaria 5? Olkaria 1, unit 5. The conversion was done at 2.9 cents US. That template is available. I've shared with Paul, I've shared with some of us. And whereas the conversion then rate is at 2.9, if GDC is giving out steam in Menengai at the cost of 2 cents for both development and steam gathering system, that template of Kenyan does capture steam development, steam gathering system, and the cost of conversion. And at 2.9, I know there'll be aspects of pressure and temperature, but if you are giving out steam at 2 cents US, and Kenyan can convert at 2.91 for that 86 megawatts, you can actually see that we could actually develop geothermal in our country today at an average of just 4.91 cents or under 5 cents. So looking at that in line with the EPRA published feed-in tariffs or tariffs for feeding in geothermal into the grid, we should be able to do 9 cents, 9.9 is not asking for too much. And so we have to work hard to ensure that we do put this power that is readily available, it is not intermittent, onto the grid at that kind of price, and that can only help us to do what we were doing yesterday in Sapit, in Otum, West Pokot, where somebody has put in so much investment to develop a clinker cement plant, and yet it is believed today that what makes our cement very expensive, so that cement out of China is cheaper than our cement manufactured in Kenya, more expensive, is the cost of power. How can it be that cost of energy or cost of power in every product is about 30 to 40%? Suppose it was 20%, suppose it was 15%. So we really have to get the cost of power right. And so those of us in the value chain on generation, the transmission, and the single buyer, we are likely to face challenge as we open up the market, because then Ketraco will be able to transmit power from any generator to the market and be able to sell that power. So I want to encourage us to work together, ensure we bring down our cost of energy, but more importantly, work to accelerating geothermal development, because today, in our least cost power development plan, we don't see much baseload coming in. There are investors fighting to bring in more solar, more wind, and the small hydros. And yet, the level of intermittence for those that we have already developed and the need to stabilize using battery storage will make the power cost much more expensive unless we accelerate geothermal. So GDC, I want to challenge you, we are relying on you. The government in office has said we are going to accelerate geothermal development. Our friend from the National Treasury may tell you there is no money, we will not vote much more money as we accelerate geothermal development. And so this morning I was asking Paul Ngugi, to be able to accelerate geothermal development, you must know where your funding is coming from. But when I looked at your template when the slides were being presented, I was happy to note that I don't know whether the IPP meant the partners will come in with that amount of cash that I saw there. And for every segment that I saw, you are doing at least about 50% of funding coming from the IPPs or the partners who will be joining you to develop the geothermal, which is very encouraging. If you recognize that you need to get most of your funds coming from out, Kenya is fairly de-risked. In the petroleum sector, investors farm in where the country has been de-risked. Kenya today, insofar as geothermal is concerned, is kind of fully de-risked. Every other drilling is almost a success. So there is no reason why investors cannot put money that should not be seen as risk capital. So those concessioners who are wishing to come, or we have identified to join us in Suswa, we have identified to join us in Paka, we want them to be on board and want them to put money on the table so that we can accelerate the development of geothermal. And if they don't have the money, let's bring investors with cash. Otherwise, we are wasting time. If we go by the plan that the government wishes to accelerate geothermal development so that investors like Chemtech, the one the President commissioned in West Pokot yesterday, and that will open and change the lives of those communities in those areas. You work out of Bogoria Silali. We stopped over yesterday in Kambi Samaki, and you see how our people live. You go to Paka. Paka is in Thiati. Is it in Thiati? Thiati in, is that Sigor? West Pokot? No, Baringo South. No. Why do you, it's in Baringo County. Yeah, Thiati is in Baringo County, sorry. And you see how our people live. And if we open and take industry to those areas, the kind of industry that we saw yesterday, the kind of work that geothermal GDC is doing in Paka, in Silali, in Baringo Silali, where we stopped yesterday. That was Kambisamaki. That's the only way we can open our country and change the lives of our people. So we need to accelerate this development. We need more base load on the grid to support the intermittent power. And therefore, those investors who want to come and work with us, let's not give them licenses. We did discuss with the CEO today the need to develop a term sheet. So those who want to come understand that once we finish working together, the tariff will not be above 6 cents US. Wasije wakatuzungusha. We start working with them, and then they tell us they only know how to develop power at 10 cents US when we are developing at 6 cents. Why do we have to bring them in? If we know how to develop at 6 cents, why should they come and help us to develop at twice the cost or twice the cost when we have to sell to our off-taker and eventually to the Kenyans to grow our economy? So I want to encourage us to accelerate the development. There are plans like we have a plant we opened up in Kenyan called EcoCloud. EcoCloud will be a green data center, possibly the first of its kind in Africa. It is going to be sitting at Suswa, the green energy park run by Kenyan. They already broke the ground, and they are seeking to employ, I don't know whether, you know, it sounds like what I used to talk about in 2013, 5,000 megawatts. They say they'll consume up to 1,000 megawatts at full capacity. It will be a secondary backup green energy center for the Emiratis and for Indian government. They want to have a secondary backup site in Kenya. And they talk about 1,000 megawatts. They'll start at about 60 megawatts in the next 2 years. So even 60 megawatts, where is it coming from, Paul? When you are talking about 35 megawatts out of Menengai, we need to accelerate like it were the geothermal development to ensure that we are able to support the economy and have this green energy, as it were, to be able to support the investments and industrialize our country. Moving industry from 9% to GDP to 7%, and when I had the president talk yesterday to 20% to GDP, means we need to quadruple performance of industry today, or we need to have industry performing at 3 times what it is today, because industry to GDP today is at 7%. It has gone down. And the president is talking about 20%. So that basically means we need 3 times the cost, 3 times the quantity of energy that we supply to industry today to be able to grow the economy. And it will not just happen. Industry are not there to grow the country. They are also there to make money. And so if the cost of energy is not right, we'll run into a problem in terms of growing the industry. Industry is very shy because they also look at return on their equity. And unless the cost of energy is right, we'll run into that problem of not protecting the already domiciled industry while seeking to bring new ones. We'll be closing those who are already in the country. So I want to really congratulate GDC for the good plan we've seen. There's a lot of work to be done. I did challenge Paul Ngugi today and told him, in this plan, you need to remove the Menengai chairman. This 35 megawatts of Globlec, and now is it Keshan, or the one that was with OPAW 22, does not belong to this 23-27. It belonged to 2013-2017. So you have a lot of, the only energy that your plan is really delivering is only Paka, the one you have developed within this period. So there's a lot of work for us to do, because we are not going to allow you to carry the energy that belonged to 2013-2017. And that was not even delivered in 2017-2022. In the MTP4, which is almost the last phase of the 2030 vision, 2030 journey, we really need to do what we promised we'll do as a country to be able to deliver. And I hope we have aligned our current strategic plan to MTP4 so that we can work and achieve or deliver on the aspirations of Vision 2030, which is really working the last journey. So again, let me just congratulate GDC for the good work you're doing. Let me thank the supporting arms of energy from Kenya Power, Nupea, Ketraco, and everybody else who we are working together to ensure that we deliver on the energy security for this country. I think it's not a mean thing to be at 92%. 92% green energy on the grid today is not so much. If you look at how much is being delivered by solar and wind in terms of the energy mix, it is really geothermal and the hydro. And that's why we need to accelerate this geothermal development to be able to stay up there and achieve that target of 2030 when we have talked to achieving 100% green energy. Let me also mention, just in passing, that we are working, or the government is working on a very tight program to achieve a clean cooking program, which is all adding to being 100% green by the year 2030. And we'll be seeing significant plans to try and put LPG, a transitional cooking energy or clean cooking, into every household in the next 3 to 4 years, and to reduce the use of biomass. That is a good carbon sink, and we should not be cutting our trees. So, so in closing, let me say it's a great pleasure and honor to be able to host this afternoon and participate in this auspicious occasion of launching the Geothermal Strategic Plan 2023-2028. I want to take this early opportunity on behalf of the ministry and on my own behalf to congratulate GDC for the successful development of this fourth cycle of the strategic plan. This is a good strategy. It's ambitious, it's bold, but like I said, let's realign to be able to accelerate the geothermal development and ensure that we fulfill the government dream of ensuring that we industrialize our country. We do move from that 7% to 20% manufacturing to GDP in terms of growth. That's a very tall order. And energy is a significant player in taking us there, not just adequacy of energy, but the cost of energy. Indeed, geothermal energy is the hallmark of green growth strategy as a country. The past success of geothermal development in the country has emboldened us to go big, as is attested in this plan that we are set to launch today. Indeed, to Kenya, it's a moment of revolution, as we, for instance, confidently usher in the age of e-mobility, e-cooking, development of green hydrogen, fertilizer, and of course, universal access to clean, affordable, reliable, and like I've said, competitive cost of energy. If Ethiopia, if our neighbors are more competitive, why would an investor be in our country? They would certainly go to a more competitive destination and take advantage of that. So far, the GDC has done the country proud. We saw the numbers today, as the previous speakers indicated. 355 megawatts of the GDC's team is generating green electricity at that competitive tariff of US 7 cents that we are enjoying today. As for the Menengai 105 megawatts project, all the 3 IPPs are on the ground, with Ocean having gone ahead to dispatch 35 megawatts. And I did indicate to Paul that let's do what it takes to ensure that the 35 megawatts from Globlek and 35 megawatts from Keshan or OPA 22 comes to the grid next year. July to September, take or leave. But certainly we need that baseload on the grid. So let's do some of the paperwork and bureaucracy that we need to finish quickly and allow those investors to help us to put that power on the grid, both 70 megawatts next year. In August last year, I was in Parkerfield, Baringo County, where I witnessed the opening of one of the biggest geothermal wells in the region, yielding 22%. Like we said, Kenya is really de-risked, and I look forward to seeing the first power plant in Parker. Can we also do it next year? 2026. We can do it in 2026. But certainly we need the base load to come on board to support some of the solar and wind that are coming in because of the challenge of intermittence. But GDC, really, like we have said, should not rest. We need you to move fast and create more bankable projects for investment. Indeed, this strategy will create a Kenya's geothermal economy such that more private investors can find the sector attractive. Ultimately, it will be a win-win for investors, a win for the economy, and a win for the environment, a win for humanity. Ladies and gentlemen, it should not be lost on us that our environment is reaching an inflection point. Global warming is real, and it is catastrophic. That is why the government of Kenya, under the stewardship of His Excellency, the President, Dr. William Ruto, is taking the practical steps to ensure that the climate agenda is firm, focused, and implementable. Geothermal energy being green and renewable is at the center of our climate agenda. Financing green projects has always been a challenge due to the skewed and unfavorable international financing structure. Kenya for a long time has carried the burden of going geothermal, but time is now to unlock the green financing to support the efforts of entities like GDC to achieve these noble goals of developing green energy. And you've heard our president champion the new financing architecture, where the pricing of capital does not price risk in a country, because the risk in climate change is real and it is devastating. And so as we usher in the new phase of getting the right cost of money, like we've said, unless we were really getting those concessional funding, it will almost be impossible to develop geothermal. And that basically means we can come down from those tariffs that we talked to from EPRA indicative tariffs, and the cost of energy could even come further down. I understand that GDC is also pursuing other interesting areas like captive power, direct use of steam, and provision of technical consultancies in the region. Such endeavors is commendable. My strong wish and advice is for GDC to actualize especially the use of heat for agriculture and other industrial processes. I look forward to a commercial green energy park coming up in Menengai, like has been articulated in your plan. Investors can remain assured that as a ministry and as a government, they have our full support towards such ventures. Lest we forget, energy is a key economic enabler. Geothermal energy remains our anchor portfolio in the energy mix. In fact, in our proposed integrated national energy plan that EPRA gazetted the other day, geothermal centrality is well defined. That is why this company, GDC strategic plan, is of particular interest to all of us. I therefore challenge all the actors, and all the actors are in the House today, all the stakeholders, the GDC board of directors and management, the staff, to rise to the occasion, roll up our sleeves, and get this plan implemented effectively, efficiently, so that we can achieve those aspirations of ensuring that we continue being where we are in attracting investors, more importantly, taking our position of leadership in geothermal. There is one thing that is least spoken about in terms of what the KPLC chair talked about, the fact that about only 1% of geothermal is being developed today. Kenya energy mix today in terms of green is 92%, but geothermal contributes about 49%. Countries like the US, who have got the highest quantum or quantity of geothermal, I don't think it represents 1-2% of their energy mix. So apart from being about today the 6th geothermal user in terms of quantum, we are really in energy mix the country that deploys geothermal in the energy mix to the tune of 49% today. So that is not, it's something that we need to congratulate ourselves, but we need to, like I said, continue to accelerate the development of this asset that we have learned how to develop. So let me again congratulate all of us for the good work we are doing and challenge us to really walk the journey that has been articulated in 2023-27 strategic plan, and to be able to continue and provide leadership both in cost and the use of green energy, albeit the challenge of climate change today. I thank you. Asanteni.